Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. These are my favorite videos to do. It's the Q&A videos. You guys always leave some very insightful questions, showing me things that sometimes I haven't seen before and get me to respond to them. In this video, we're splitting up into two parts, by the way. This will be part one. Part two will be posted in about 12 hours. We've got two very important questions that I've answered in a lot of detail here. One of them is, can altcoins and altcoin season continue after Bitcoin tops out? Now, intuitively, most of you would say no. But in 2017, we actually saw altcoins see the most aggressive pumps they saw that cycle after the Bitcoin top. So lots to discuss there. And then the second question comes from Craig, and he's asking what I think about these very high price targets like 500K, 350K, and what I think about Bitcoin running past the 4-year cycle deadline. Now, a lot of you guys who watch this channel a lot can probably assume my answer there, but I will give a lot of insight and I'll give more depth to it, right? What do I actually think about the cycle breaking? Because the cycle will break eventually. And even without the cycle breaking, these very high price targets that some people have of 500K, 350K, although they're unlikely, they're not completely impossible. So I'll address that in full. Before we dive into it, let's take a look at the Bitunix exchange. It's a global exchange. You can access it from anywhere in the world. It's never been hacked before. Not a single security breach in 4 years in the market. An excellent track record. That's what you want because you're trusting exchanges to keep your money safe and you're paying them money and fees while you do so. And with that said, you can get a 15% trading fee discount attached to your account for life with my referral link, which you can find in the description and pinned comment below. So use that link to sign up, get that trading fee discount, help out the channel and help out yourself. And the final thing I'll mention before we dive into it today, click the join button on my YouTube channel homepage and you'll see the Wolves of Crypto VIP membership details. If you want altcoin trading signals posted 4 times a week exclusively for you as a VIP member, you can get them. It's a 77.8% win rate. I've been doing it for 3 years. I've tracked that win rate in a publicly accessible document right there in that link. And that's not all. You're getting a bunch of other perks, which you can take a look at on the screen right now. Without further ado, guys, I won't take any more of your time. Let's get into the video. So our first question is quite an interesting one I haven't actually approached for a long time because it's not very often people pick up on this. But in the 2017 bull market, we saw Bitcoin top out and altcoins continue to run for about a month before they crashed downwards. Very different to 2021. And the question essentially is, can we see that again? Can we see Bitcoin top out as per its 4-year cycle expectation around October or November this year, and altcoins continuing to run for a little bit from there before crashing? Do altcoins have to crash with Bitcoin essentially? Now, generally when we do cyclical analysis, we can look at all 3 cycles we've had in full. But when it comes to the question of altcoin performance in relation to Bitcoin, we only really have 2 cycles to look at because back in 2013, 2014, altcoins weren't really well established. Ethereum wasn't the leader of the altcoin market. It was mainly just Bitcoin and a few stragglers, right? It's only in 2017, 2018 that altcoins really popped up onto the scene in any major way. And for that reason, we only really have the 2017 cycle and the 2021 cycle to look at when it comes to looking how altcoins have performed against Bitcoin. And as you can see, I've overlaid the Ethereum chart on top of the Bitcoin chart right here. And Ethereum is a representation of the leader of the altcoin market. So Ethereum basically is the altcoin market in these examples here. Let's just use that for argument's sake. And what you can see, as I just explained before, is Bitcoin topped out right here in December 2017, but altcoins continued to run until early January 2017. We can also look at that from a Bitcoin dominance perspective, Bitcoin topping out in early December right here, and altcoins not only not topping out in December with Bitcoin, but actually seeing the most aggressive part of the altcoin season through the period of which Bitcoin was topped out. So altcoins actually performed the best in 2017 after Bitcoin topped out. Very interesting because it's not at all what we saw in 2021. In 2021, Bitcoin basically directed the altcoin market. Whatever Bitcoin did, altcoins did. Okay, obviously altcoins outperformed Bitcoin a little bit, but when Bitcoin said the top was in, altcoins dropped immediately. Now, with one data point suggesting each theory, with one data point saying altcoins continue to run, and the other data point saying that altcoins cannot continue to run, it's impossible for me to come to any valid conclusion about what will happen this time. I don't know. No one knows. We could see a scenario like 2017 where altcoins continue to run after the Bitcoin top, or we could see a scenario like 2021 where Bitcoin directs the altcoin top. However, I would argue, just based on some preliminary data we've seen and what we've seen this cycle so far, It's probably more likely that Bitcoin directs the altcoin top. What I mean is it's probably more likely that altcoins drop as soon as Bitcoin starts dropping because we've seen such a dramatic amount of weakness in the altcoin market this time. Okay, the altcoin market, unfortunately, is not performing as well as it did in 2017 or 2021. Bitcoin dominance hasn't even started dropping yet, which is completely unheard of. Generally speaking, we see altcoin seasons that last about a year in length. In fact, they last 324 days exactly in length. On 2 occasions, we've seen that. If that was the case, assuming the 4-year cycle remains, we would have had to see the altcoin season begin in October. But currently, we're sitting here in June, and we haven't even seen the start of it yet. So altcoins aren't doing well. And if we're talking about altcoins seeing dramatic overperformance against Bitcoin after the Bitcoin cyclical top, presumably that would only happen in an environment where altcoins are doing well, and they're not doing well right now. So I think it's highly doubtful that altcoins continue to run after the Bitcoin top. Not impossible, because we only have 2 data points, but definitely highly doubtful considering the circumstances. However, that doesn't necessarily mean I think you should get rid of all of your altcoins immediately when Bitcoin shows signs of topping. You can look at specific altcoins and look at the specific breakdown levels in specific altcoins and only sell when those breakdown levels are reached, right? That would be a logical middle ground approach. So for example, if let's just hypothetically assume that it's the end of the bull market, okay? Let's hypothetically assume that Bitcoin has topped. You wouldn't just sell Ethereum blindly. You'd wait for the structural breakdown and sell when the breakdown occurs as validation for the bear market beginning, okay? That's how you can approach the altcoin scenario there. Our next question here from Craig. Craig is asking, about many high-profile people in the cryptocurrency space who are making claims that Bitcoin will go as high as $500,000 and making claims that Bitcoin will top out in 2026, 2027, or beyond, instead of topping out this year as per the 4-year cycle. He's asking if they have any validity and what I think about them. Now, okay, let's just address this in a few different ways. There's 2 parts of this question. One of them is a date range question, and one of them is a price range question. Okay, as for whether Bitcoin could technically go very, very high in price, it's technically possible, right? We could see a Bitcoin go upwards to 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 in this cycle. It would be very unlikely, in my view, but it is possible technically. And the reason I say that is because the structures that underpin the ceilings of Bitcoin price action from cycle to cycle are once again being tested. Like this logarithmic regression channel on an angle-based perspective. We have this channel. This is just one example, by the way. I could show you 3. And I've shown them in the past on this YouTube channel. I just don't want to drag out the question too long. Every cycle, we have an angle of incline from top to top to top and bottom to bottom to bottom. Okay, and what we see is that at angle of incline, halves each time. So it was 26 over here, it's 13 over here, it's 6.5 over here. Okay, it's 30 over here, it's 15 here, 7.5 over here. Every time the angle of incline halves. And so if we extrapolate that forward and assume the trend remains, we should be seeing Bitcoin top at about $130,000 at the cyclical deadline of October. Now, of course, this channel can't continue forever, and the reason it can't continue forever is because eventually this angle will get so small that there will be no incline in Bitcoin price action, and unless we are to assume Bitcoin would flatline forever, it would have to break the channel. Now, that could happen this cycle, right? We only have a 6.5% angle of inclination. So we could technically break it here. We could technically break this channel, and presumably if that occurs, it will lead to a large surge in price action that could send Bitcoin upwards to the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 region. That could happen. There's no reason to think that couldn't happen. But like what I'm going to say with the date range trend, it hasn't happened yet. And if you were saying that could happen in any prior cycle, you would have been wrong 100% of the time. The trend is your friend until it ends. Until it happens, there's no reason to put all your eggs in the basket of it happening. React to it when it happens. Don't try and predict when it will happen. Because if you tried to do that historically, every single time you would have been wrong. Exact same with the date range trend. Eventually, the 4-year cycle will break. The 4-year cycle will not last forever. The 4-year cycle that says we will bottom out, or top out, in October, November this year is not going to be indefinitely true. It has been true on Bitcoin for the entirety of Bitcoin's price action. Please remember that. Since 2012, every single cycle it has been correct. Every single person who said it's going to be wrong each time, which include the big names you're talking about, Benjamin Cohen for one. Right, I'm not going to sit here and name all these other people because I don't want to start YouTube beef, but I feel like I'm justified in naming him because he's a massive YouTuber. He said it was going to break, right? Crypto Crew University, they all said this was going to break. It's still valid, okay? Historically, your case for betting against the 4-year cycle has been incorrect every single time. Doesn't matter who you are and what you've said. So do you want to be the person who sits here and says it's going to break this time before it happens, or would you rather just react to it when it happens? You do not lose anything by reacting to it when it happens, because presumably you're not just going to sell in October blindly. You only sell when there's a breakdown. So, me sitting here and saying I believe in the 4-year cycle doesn't mean when we reach October I'm going to sell everything and miss out on a big move that might come after. It means in October I'm going to get very, very cautious, and if we see a breakdown, that could be a validation for the top being in. So my view just comes back to what I said before. The trend is your friend until it ends. Technically, these things can happen. Technically, we can break the 4-year cycle. We can get to ridiculously high price points. But if you said this in any other cycle, you'd have a 0% success rate. And extrapolating the trend forward, there's no reason to argue against the trend, particularly speaking, because you can just react to it when it happens to break, whenever that may be, whether it be this cycle or the next or the one after that, and you lose nothing by doing that. Seeing as these targets like 300k, 400k, 500k, and 2027 top, 2028 top are based on no data, there's no data supporting those things. They're highly speculative because the only data we have is the 4-year cycle. I can't really go in any more depth than saying it could happen, but why would we trust it, right? That's all I can really say. There's no data to counteract here. It's not like you're showing me an indicator that I can rebuke mathematically. It's like you're saying, oh, someone thinks it's going to break to 500k. What do you think? Well, there's nothing to think because there's no substance behind that claim. So the trend is your friend until it ends. I'll leave it at that. Before we wrap up here today, just another look at the Bitunix exchange and VIP. Bitunix is global, non-KYC, accessible from anywhere in the world, and a 15% trading fee discount is available with my referral link down below. It's never been hacked before. This is the kind of exchange you want to be on, and I'm saying that as a trader who is not getting paid by them. I'm simply getting a referral link. So use that link down below to sign up if you're interested, help out yourself and help out the channel. And again, I'll mention the VIP group. Click the join button on my YouTube homepage, and you'll see all the perks pop up right there. 4 trading signals per week, access to a VIP group chat, and much more. If you're interested in that, check it out. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.